What is up, gang? Andrew Cooper in the house, aka Coupe Fiasco on Twitter, and this is Coop's Fantasy Football Fiasco from Fantasy Alarm on Better Sports Network, sponsored by FFPC, bringing you what you need, baby. And for those unfamiliar, here's how this works. And we're actually organizing things for you guys to make it easier across the board. Monday, I come in and break down the important usage from this week. Excitement and all that stuff, that's based on highlights. That's fun. Trust is based on usage. Trust is what we actually need for fantasy football. Without trust, we can't put these guys in our lineup. You can't actually start them. So, a guy goes out and makes a fun play, great. But if he's not playing all the snaps, he's blocking on pass plays, he's not getting, pass snaps as a running back, we can't start him. So this week sets the tone for the rest of the week. This show here, Monday. We come out, we look at all the usage for all the teams. It's dead serious. I like this show best, not just because I don't have to wear my headphones because I'm doing it myself, but because we get into the nerdy stuff, the raw data, the information. Tomorrow on Fantasy Alarm Football with Howard Bender, we answer everyone's waiver questions. On Wednesday, we're going to do trades. On Thursday, we're going to do lineups. On Friday, I'm going to bring on a guest to break down the slate, and we build our FFPC team. We start building the teams that win us money. So that's how we do it here, baby. That's what we're going to do. If you have questions, I'm going to try and get to them, but the important thing today is breaking down the information that we saw from this week. First guy, I see the question in the chat. Hey, Coop, I know this isn't the question podcast, but it's about one of your guys. Should I drop Muth for Michael Wilson rather than holding him through his injuries? I have Kincaid. Guess what? Very first team we're talking about, because we go in alphabetical order by city, is the Arizona Cardinals. So right now with Pat Freiermuth, I told you guys I had 5 tight ends in my fades article to not draft at ADP. They were Pat Freiermuth, George Kittle, Dallas Goedert, Irv Smith, Gerald Everett. Hopefully you dodged those grenades, because right now it's looking ugly. I mean, if George Kittle couldn't do it this week against this Cardinals team that he usually crushes, I'm not sure when he's going to, but we'll talk about that momentarily. Michael Wilson is the guy I'm adding where I haven't dropped him in any of the leagues where I drafted him. I have a ton of them in best ball. Earn Dog, we can take that question down now. Earn Dog behind the glass today. Shout out, buddy. Arizona Cardinals, 71 snaps this week. You got 67 from Marquise Brown, 54 from Rondale Moore, 50 from Michael Wilson. But Michael Wilson, he's got 30 pounds and 4 inches on all those guys, on Greg Dortch, on Rondale Moore, on Marquise Brown. Zach Pascal is the only one that's even close to him. Pascal only played 21 snaps. Michael Wilson is the guy at split end. He is the red zone threat clearly at this point. We just want to see him play more snaps, but 50 of 71, not bad. But Marquise Brown's playing 67 of 71. I mean, Michael Wilson's a rookie, so it could get ramped up. Right now, it's already looking pretty good as far as rookies go. So got to be picking up guys like this. You got to do it early before they blow up and before they go crazy. I mean, 2 touchdowns kind of is a blow-up week, so it could be tough to get them, but I'm adding him in the places where I don't have him, but I have him in a lot of places. So let's go. Zach Ertz back on track this week. Played 54 snaps. So week 1 is when he came out, had the massive snap share. It was trending down over the last 2 weeks. Now it's back up. So Zach Ertz back on the menu. I mean, 10 targets is 10 targets. What are you going to do? He was never even a guy that would bust off, huge yak. He was never a big yardage guy. He actually only has one 1,000-yard season on his resume, as crazy as that sounds. And he needed 156 targets to do it. So he's never going to be a guy you want in standard leagues. Half PPR, a little dicey as well, but in full PPR, targets are there. And, touchdowns will be there. But just know that he might not have a single 100-yard game. It's just the way he is. It's just the way he runs, like a 4.74. And that's what he ran at the combine. At age 32, there's no chance he still runs like coming off an ACL. So he's a target guy. That's what you got to go for. Running back, James Conner's still the guy. And Keontae Ingram was out. So Amari DiMercato is the guy. He's an undrafted free agent. He's the next man up. So just keep that in mind. That's the thing. If James Conner goes down and he's gotten hurt every single year in a row for his entire career, then you got to know who the next guy up is. So while it is Keontae Ingram when he's healthy, but while he's out right now, the name is Amari DiMercato. Awesome name. So hopefully we get some fantasy relevance from him, because there's nothing better than the guy with a great name, right? Atlanta Falcons, 58 snaps. Drake London and Matt Collins are the only guys that you can even remotely consider from wide receiver, because they use Jonnu Smith so much, and they use Keith Smith, the fullback. There's no third wide receiver. It's just never going to be that way. Kyle Pitts played 23 snaps at wide receiver, 5 in line. So he's playing wide receiver. Jonnu Smith, also is a move tight end. He played 24 snaps at wide receiver, 2 in the backfield, 6 in line. It's actually they're using Michael Pruitt if they're going to use an inline tight end. So kind of a weird setup. They're just moving everybody around. But the reality is that Kyle Pitts is the wide receiver 2 on this team. And when he has a tough matchup, he disappears. And Desmond Ridder is terrible. So in Dynasty, I tweeted this out earlier. You look at Nico Collins, the success he's had. You look at Michael Wilson, with a quarterback that's looking at him. You got to go out and try and get these guys, Drake London and Kyle Pitts in Dynasty, especially if you're not competing now, because at some point they're going to have a quarterback that's good, right? Even if Kyle Pitts, even if they pick up his 5th-year option, by the time he finishes that contract, even after the 5th-year option, he'll be 26. That 1,000-yard season I just mentioned for Zach Ertz, that didn't happen until he was 28 years old. 28. Travis Kelce didn't have a 1,000-yard season until he was 27. Kyle Pitts with Matt Ryan had one when he was 21 years old. So that we just got to keep holding those guys. Do not trade them. Do not drop them in Dynasty unless you have to do something to improve your lineup now. If you're competing now, maybe you do. But those are the guys that you buy at a discount. This is the buy low window when they have a terrible quarterback. They're either going to get a new quarterback or those players are going to leave in free agency and they're not going to sign with a team with a terrible quarterback, right? That's not how it works. So you got to hold on to those guys. Bijan Robinson, 44 snaps, only 25 for Tyler Algier. Sorry, only 15 for Tyler Algier. So got to love that. Bijan is the dude. You got to respect him. Shout out Eric. Shout out Skinny. What's up, everybody in the chat? Thanks for popping in. Thanks for hanging out. Let's break it down. Let's do it. Britt, what's going on? So Falcons are what they are. I'll say this. We've all been saying it. There's no way Taylor Heineke is worse than Desmond Ridder. He might be just as bad, but there's no way he's worse. And I've seen Taylor Heineke. I know he's better. I know he's a better quarterback right now. And they don't want to give up on the young guy, because when you bench Desmond Ridder, it's done, right? Davis Mills as a 3rd-round pick, he had one shot and didn't work out. Like, you got to win games to protect your job. If the Falcons don't win a bunch of games, they're going to have a high pick and they're going to use that on a quarterback, on a Drake May or somebody. So he's got to play his way to keeping that job. But at this point, I'd just rather see somebody else. And yeah, Jonnu Smith, man. Hey, you know what? It's hard to trust him because he only played 32 of 58 snaps. He only ran 23 of 36 routes. But hey, he's been getting the targets pretty consistently. So teams are just not, they're treating him as a non-asset, right? They're not covering him. So just keep throwing the ball. So in deep leagues, maybe on your radar. I don't know, though. I'm not starting Jonnu Smith in any of my leagues. I'll tell you right now, I'm not going to start him in a single league. Baltimore Ravens, 58 snaps. Gus Edwards, 40. He was the top dog. Melvin Gordon got he played 11. Justice Hill only 7. I know Justice Hill has been banged up, but I mean, why even make him active if you're only going to play him for 7 snaps? So Gus Edwards is a dude. I'm happy because I have him in a lot of best ball leagues. He was just a name where you get to like the 17th round of best ball and he's sitting there and I just go, yep, Gus Edwards, why not? 5 yards of carry for his career. Very few guys do that. It's like him and Nick Chubb, Aaron Jones. That's it, right? So got to get him going. Zay Flowers led. Nelson Aguilar and Devin Duvernay filled in for Odell Beckham Jr. and Rashad Bateman. Not interested in Aguilar or Duvernay in any way. Zay Flowers is obviously a guy that you roll out there, wherever you were. They didn't throw a ton. They only threw like 18 times. He still had Mark Andrews had 5 targets. He had 4. When they throw more, he's going to get more. When they don't throw a lot, that's the way it goes. Mark Andrews is still awesome. We did learn something. Unfortunately, Isaiah Likely, I was like, hey, you know what? With both 2 wide receivers down, maybe Isaiah Likely is good enough to just play more snaps. Not really. Didn't happen. Only 15 snaps out of 58. So Isaiah Likely really only an option when Mark Andrews is out. They're not going to use him as wide receiver. We thought maybe, hey, why not, right? No, didn't do it. Buffalo Bills, 58 snaps. Stephon Diggs is an animal. I mean, I don't really need to talk to you about Stephon Diggs. We don't need to talk too long about guys that are just super mega stars and are in your lineup every single week. Gabe Davis played 42 of 58 snaps. 42 snaps behind 44 for Diggs, but he only ran 22 routes, 22 of 29. Diggs ran 26. Gabe Davis is just a guy, and you might need to use him. I'd rather not, but hey, he got in the end zone. That's what he does. He's like the one thing he does do is get behind safeties at times and become a red zone target. So kind of a boom bust, standard league, half-point PPR league type guy. I don't know. Not really exciting for me. This, for the first week, I know it didn't look amazing, but for the first time, Dalton Kincaid played more snaps than Dawson Knox. He ran 23 routes. Dawson Knox only ran 14. And the thing with Dalton Kincaid is that we don't really it doesn't jump out at us because Sam Laporta is so awesome, right? Sam Laporta has through 4 games more receptions than any rookie tight end in the history of the league, right? Sam Laporta is lighting the world on fire. Dalton Kincaid quietly is 7th all time on that list. And it's like Evan Ingram second. Dalton Kincaid right now through 4 weeks is tied with Kyle Pitts, who had 1,000 yards as a rookie, 4 receptions through 4 games. So, Dalton Kincaid, I'm still stashing him. But again, this was the week probably where he should have popped off versus a bad defense, a bad Dolphins defense. But I mean, he ran 23 routes, which was more than Gabe Davis, second only behind 26 routes for Stephon Diggs. So good usage for Kincaid. We need to see more targets. The Dolphins really didn't put up much of a fight. So, it didn't turn into the shootout we were hoping for. James Cook, some positive news and some negative news. So I looked at it and I was like, hey, goal line carry for James Cook. Let's go. We did it. Ladies and gentlemen, we got him. James Cook, awesome, right? Because his usage so far is he's looked awesome in space, but in, these the goal line situations, they've been using Latavius Murray. Well, this time they used him there, but Latavius Murray played a ton of pass snaps. I checked out, shout out to guys like, Dave, Spaceman Dave Wright, Kevin Tompkins, Nathan Yankee. I always check out their stuff. I see, okay, what are these guys saying about the usage? Kev does the utilization information for us, which is awesome. Dwayne McFarland, I check his stuff out too. Like you always got to check out that stuff so you know what some of the underlying stuff is. And I was like, wait, well, what do we got here? We got the goal line carry. We're good, right? And Nathan Yankee pointed out that, and sorry if I'm pronouncing his name wrong. Somebody in the chat, let me know if I am, because, I've never actually met him. I've seen a lot of his work though. So yeah, great follow. Check him out. But he basically said that Latavius Murray all of a sudden just got the pass down role, started playing a bunch of pass snaps, which we know that with these young RBs, sometimes they struggle with the pass blocking and they will lose the roles to bigger backs that know the scheme better, which Latavius Murray is a lot bigger. And now we're in this weird spot where kind of gross. It's kind of gross with if he's not going to get the pass work. We need him to get that pass work. So there you go. I see you guys in the chat. What's happening? Should I trade Swift for Richardson? My RB room is Aaron Jones and Saquon, and my QB is Goff. I need to know who your other running backs are besides Aaron Jones and Saquon, because Saquon's not playing right now. I mean, or, we don't even know what he's going to look like. So kind of tough there. Let me know who your other running backs are there before we can make a decision on that. How do I feel about Tutu's targets once Kupp is back? I just traded in Dynasty a first-round pick for Cooper Kupp yesterday. In person, with hanging out with my buddy. I was like, dude, give me Cooper Kupp. And he just was like, what? I was like, first-round pick. My team is 4-0. I'm already going to win this week. If you're 4-0, here's my advice. Now's the time to trade, everybody out there. If you're 4-0 in your redraft league or your dynasty teams, in redraft, the way you got to look at it is this. You're 4-0. You can lose some games. So what you want to do is consolidate. Try and do 2-for-1s. Look for the teams that are struggling and need to sell their best player just to put together a decent lineup. Do 2-for-1s. Start focusing on the playoffs. Start building the juggernaut team. If you got to lose during bye weeks because your team is thin, then whatever. But start building the juggernaut. In Dynasty, if you're 4-0, trade your picks. That first round pick, it's not helping me win this year, and it might not even help me win next year. I need to win now. Cooper Kupp is a guy that could put my team over the top, and I could dominate, right? So forget the first round picks. You can have all my picks. I do not care. Don't. My teams are awesome. I'm awesome at this, and my teams are awesome, so I don't need picks. And then on the flip side, if you are struggling, you might have to be that guy that sells your best player and wins now, especially sell guys when their bye weeks come up. I mean, you might have to, right? If you have week 5 bye weeks, Justin Herbert, whoever, and you're struggling, you got to win. You can't lose games. You can't bleed games right now. So sometimes you got to do it. Would I trade Justin Jefferson for Puka and Devonta Smith? Yeah. If my wide receiver 3 stinks, then sometimes you got to do that. If you're 4-0 though, then you keep the better player. That's where I'm at. Using Swift, backups are Madison and Najee. Yeah, I would do it then. I would do it. I don't mind Madison. I don't mind Najee, and we'll get to the usage on those guys. But, that's the advice for now. Make some moves, dude. Make it happen. All right. So yeah, that's the Buffalo Bills. Carolina Panthers, 72 snaps this week, so above average. Whatever you saw for target, you got to keep that in mind. Average is 65, so 72 is okay, right? So 65 is the average. Sometimes we have teams that play only 40 or 50 snaps. You can discount those weeks to a certain degree, and then you'll have games where teams play 82. We've had teams play 100 snaps in some of these overtime games. The Joe Flacco games last year to start the year for the Jets, crazy narratives, 80 snaps, 90 snaps, 100 snaps. Everyone thought Tyler Conklin was going to be the thing. All this stuff was going to happen. It didn't. They came back to normal. So you got to be careful. But 72 snaps, and we still have yet to see this team with all 4 wide receivers. Like, this is one of the few teams where we don't really have answers. We need to see all 4 wide receivers out there. What we do know is that Adam Thielen, in every situation, has played all the snaps. Terrace Marshall, at times, has played a limited snap share. This week, even though he got 10 targets, he only played 45 of 72 snaps. He only ran 26 of 40 routes. So be careful with Terrace Marshall. When Jonathan Mingo's back, then we'll finally get an answer. But I think at the end of the day, it's going to be Thielen and Chark as the full-time players and Marshall and Mingo splitting snaps. That's what I expect. Hayden Hurst still only runs a partial snap share. He only ran 26 of 40 routes. You cannot trust Hayden Hurst. You couldn't trust him at any point. So don't worry about Hayden Hurst. The idea was that maybe he could be a top target on the team, and he's clearly not. So get him out. He's done. Miles Sanders didn't practice all week with the groin, so he saw limited work this week, especially in the second half. They just leaned on Chuba. But Miles Sanders, hopefully he's going to get healthy, and then we'll see what he can fully do. He's been getting a ton of targets, but for the time being, he's nicked up. So you got to factor that into your decisions every week. Chicago Bears, 72 snaps. Fields look better. Playing a historically terrible defense definitely helps. The Denver Broncos right now are the worst team in DVOA through 4 games that there's ever been. So just keep that in mind. Justin Simmons will be back, so they won't be this bad always. But, great news for Justin Fields because he played one of the worst possible defenses there are. So he had a good game. And DJ Moore got a ton of targets. Darnell Mooney continues to operate out of the slot and be a full-time player. Chase Claypool was a healthy scratch. They're trying to trade him for literally anything. So there you go. Equinemius St. Brown played the next highest snap share. Can't really trust a guy like that. He only ran 21 routes of 40. DJ Moore ran 38. Darnell Mooney ran 36. Those are the guys you can even consider for a lineup. Cole Kmet, 9 targets, but he only ran 26 of 40 routes. We want to see him run more. The first week, he played 72 of 74 snaps, and then that kind of went away. So, he's still a favorite of the quarterback, so you're kind of liking him, but what are you going to do? It's hard to trust him. Khalil Herbert, he dominated in snaps, 56 to 16 for Roschon Johnson. We were fantasy wishing for Roschon Johnson to be a thing, to become a guy. Not really. Doesn't look like it's going to be the case right now. So Khalil Herbert, you can probably start him with confidence. He played more, obviously got 18 carries to 5. He played 31 pass plays to only 10 for Roschon. And, it's probably a matter of pass blocking. So he's got all the high leverage jobs belong to Khalil Herbert. So Roschon doesn't necessarily need to be rostered right now. So there you go. Cincinnati Bengals, brutal right now. Only 53 snaps on offense. Joe Burrow clearly not healthy, man. And he needs, he's not a rushing QB, but he needs his mobility. It's pretty obvious here that he's just looking at the first read every time, getting the ball out of his hands quick. That's why you're seeing more Jamar Chase and Jamar Chase and Tyler Boyd than you are seeing, T. Higgins, because T. Higgins runs routes that take time to develop, and Joe Burrow he's just not interested in. He can't move around, so he's not interested in holding on to the ball. Jamar Chase came out and said he's always open. Yeah, he's Jamar Chase, so just keep throwing it to him. T. Higgins did get ruled out with a rib injury, so we'll monitor that. It's already tough to trust T. Higgins, and now he's banged up, so pretty ugly. Tanner Hudson filled in for Irv Smith as a pass-catching back, but we didn't even like Irv Smith, so how are we going to like Tanner Hudson? He's a dart throw at best in DFS. That's all. Joe Mixon got all the work. It's just he's not super efficient. He needs this team to be good, because if you're the every down back on a good offense, magic things can happen. LeGarrette Blount on the Patriots scored 18 touchdowns because they were the good Patriots, the ones of yesteryear with this guy as the quarterback. If the team is good, the every down back is going to be good regardless of how efficient he is. That's why Joe Mixon was the guy that we're drafting everywhere. You still start him everywhere. It's just, team stinks. So he's not going to be that great. I think they can turn it around. The problem now is that Joe Burrow, you can't really have him sit. You can't really have him take a week off to get healthy, because they can't lose any more games. 1-3, you can't start bleeding games now. So kind of a tough spot over there. Cleveland Browns, 69 snaps this week. At least we know DPJ, Elijah Moore, and Amari Cooper are the full every down wide receivers. They play the whole game. Nice. David Njoku showed up in a Halloween costume because he burned his face and hands. Attaboy David. Didn't seem to bother him. He told us that, the body is weak, but the mind is strong, and he was just going to play through it. what a psycho. But yeah, I mean, he played the whole game. He looked good. 33 routes run, was right up there with DPJ and Elijah Moore and Amari. 7 targets. Hey, maybe burning. The thing is, he didn't block in a single pass play. Maybe the fact that he was all burned up, they were like, hey, let's not keep you in and get you all beat up staying in. Why don't you just run around and run routes? That's great for fantasy football. I mean, that was the problem with Njoku is every once in a while he'll block on 6 pass snaps, 7 pass snaps. So kind of rough there. Shout out Sellers. What's up, man? So I see the trade question in there. Funks, Trixie. I'm also thinking about doing another trade, CD for Puka and Marquise Brown. My other wide receivers are Ridley and DJ Moore. I think I would just stick with CD Lamb, Ridley, and DJ Moore just because, I mean, CD Lamb is always going to be CD Lamb. He's always going to be a dog. Puka, we still, obviously, he looks awesome right now, but Cooper Kupp could return. So you don't know, man. You don't know. And yes, Schwartz, it is upsetting that Atlanta's using Jonnu Smith over Kyle Pitts. Like, that's the problem is that they're using all these guys like wide receivers, and Drake London and Kyle Pitts draw the best coverage, and only good quarterbacks can get it to their players in tough coverage. So if Jonnu Smith is just open, then there you go, right? Yeah, they're targeting him because Jonnu Smith is being covered by linebackers, and Kyle Pitts is being covered by the second best cornerback on every team. And, he's a good player, but you need a good quarterback to get the ball to a guy like that. So, I mean, Matt Ryan was able to do it 1,000 yards as a rookie. Desmond Ridder stinks. So what are you going to do with the Browns? So running backs, Jerome Ford, clearly the dude in every facet. So he ran 27 routes. Kareem Hunt only ran 8. He got more carries, 9-5 for Hunt. So as of right this moment, I know Kareem Hunt's banged up and he just joined the team, but as of right this moment, Jerome Ford is the dog. He's getting the usage, and you can throw him in lineups. You can't do anything with Kareem Hunt right now. Cowboys absolutely smoked the Patriots. Wasn't even close. And they put in the backup. So don't worry about Tony Pollard only playing 37 snaps. He didn't need to play more than that. It was like, yeah, go out there and run around Deuce Vaughn and Hunter Lepke and all these guys. Like, doesn't matter. Even CeeDee Lamb only played 44 of 70 snaps because they were just putting the backups in. So it's still Brandon Cooks, CeeDee Lamb, and Michael Gallup. Those are the dogs. Jake Ferguson had his best usage yet. Because Peyton Hendershot was out. Anytime Peyton Hendershot is out, I'm willing to give Jake Ferguson a look. It's just that when Hendershot plays, they split the snaps. And even now, without Hendershot, the rookie Luke Schoonmaker played 39 snaps. So you had 39 snaps for Ferguson, 39 for Schoonmaker. Ferguson got the targets, though. I mean, Dak does lean on the tight end. I honestly think it's because he's not that good at making reads, but, if he's going to look at him, then we got to consider him. It's just know that he's a fairly low upside option because he doesn't play the whole game, But if Hendershot is out again this week, then we'll look at him again. Brandon Cooks played 49 snaps. He plays the whole game, and they just got to get on the same page. I just don't know if Dak is the type of quarterback that can get the ball to a player like that. So it's yet to be seen. Denver Broncos. This is an example of a team that, because of the game script, with the Justin Fields fumbling and getting run back for a touchdown, that gives the ball right back to the Bears. A pick six or a defensive touchdown or a special teams touchdown, terrible for offensive production because it's a whole drive that just gets erased, right? Sometimes you see with the Panthers where there's a pick six in the red zone. That means that the other team did a whole drive. Kirk Cousins did an entire drive, got down there, threw a pick six, and then the Vikings went back out on offense and did another drive. It saps the offense. So only 48 snaps for the Broncos. That's crazy low. Average is 65, so can't really judge them based on this week. Sutton and Judy play their full snap shares. You can trust those guys. Marvin Mims still not getting enough snaps. It's driving me nuts. He only played 17. 17 of 48 is better than what we've seen in the past percentage-wise, but it's still not even half the game. So can't trust Marvin Mims. He played the same number of snaps as Brandon Johnson. Brandon Johnson hasn't done anything besides catch that Hail Mary. All of his stats are Hail Mary based. Can't trust him either. So it's just Sutton and Judy right now for guys you can start, but Mims is a guy you stash. Brandon Johnson, you don't do anything with Brandon Johnson, ever, in any format. Adam Trotman only ran 24 of 31 routes. He's a guy that blocks on a ton of pass plays. This team doesn't have a fantasy relevant tight end. That's a difficult thing for people to accept, that there are going to be teams that don't have a tight end for fantasy football because your 10 or 12 team league where you start one tight end, you're only going to need 10 or 12 tight ends and there's 32 teams. So the Broncos are, as of this moment, they don't have a fantasy relevant tight end. You just got to throw Dulcich in a IR spot if you can. And what's up, GT Sports? What's up, Nick? Would you rather have Trevor Lawrence or Tua rest of the season? I already had Tua ranked ahead of Trevor Lawrence. He has better weapons. The offense is better. The coach is better. Everything's better right now. So he's the guy. And what do you do with Travis Kelce at this point? You start him every single week in your lineup and you smile. That's it. I mean, nothing else you could do, man. Nothing else you could do. Look around at the people that drafted Dallas Goedert and George Kittle and Pat Freiermuth and Kyle Pitts. They would murder you for Travis Kelce. They would murder you for a Travis Kelce down week. Same with people were coming at me saying, Mark Andrews, he's killing me, dude. He didn't play week 1, and then he got 5 targets last week. Dude, some of my teams, man, with like Dalton Kincaid and these guys, like I would kill you for 5 targets. And then this week, Mark Andrews comes out and has 2 touchdowns. Anyone that sat Mark Andrews, I don't know what is going through your noggin, but you just got to be happy to have Kelce and Mark Andrews at this point. That's what's up. Kittle. You said my bad typo. Kittle. What do we do with Kittle? Kittle is a guy that you knew what you were getting with Kittle. We wrote up the Fades article this year, and he was in it, and we basically told you what you have. You've got a guy that he runs a 4.52, and he led the league last year in red zone targets. So some weeks he's going to go out, he's going to make a big play, or he's going to score 2 touchdowns. That's going to happen at some point. The thing is, it was supposed to happen this week because he historically crushes the Cardinals, but it didn't happen, right? He historically, like last few games against his team, 24 points, 21 points, 18 points, right? Last 8 times he's played the Cardinals, last 9 times he's played the Cardinals, this is only the second time he didn't have double-digit points. And in the other game, he had 9.3 fantasy points. The fact that he did nothing this week is crazy, and it's concerning because Debo is banged up and just kind of scary. So I think what you do with Kittle is you go yin and yang tight end now. You start Kittle now, but you use a bench spot on the highest risk, highest upside possible player. Let me know who's on waivers, and I'll tell you who to throw into a spot. But you got to be stashing Greg Dulcich. You got to be stashing Jelani Woods if you have IR spots. You got to go out and get a Luke Musgrave, right? You got to go out and get a Dalton Kincaid, right? Like you got to just start a Logan Thomas. Throw somebody on the bench and just see if you can find this year's breakout. Every year for the last 6 years, a tight end's come from outside the top 17 in ADP to finish top 5. Through 6 weeks in 2020, Logan Thomas was tight end 26. He finished at tight end 3. So they're out there. We're going to find them every week. So tomorrow is when my yin and yang tight end article comes out. We're going to look at the usage. I'll tell you who you're stashing. But yeah, George Kittle, you got to treat him the way we were treating all these other guys that were your quote unquote safe guys you start for now. Like you still start Kittle, but you got to start thinking about a path to upside. Detroit Lions, 75 snaps. Laporta, awesome. Josh Reynolds is still playing a decent snap share, but both those guys, big test coming up. Amon-Ra St. Brown is going to be fine. Jameson Williams, for those that don't know, haven't heard the news, gambling policy was changed. He was immediately retroactively instated, and hopefully they said sorry. It's like he bet on baseball while he was in a hotel, and the hotel counts as the part of the facility. My goodness, what an annoying and convoluted rule that everyone should know all the rules. But I mean, think about your handbook at work. Have you read the entire handbook at work to find out exactly what could get you in trouble? Because no one does that. Absolutely no one does that. And I know his agent and all these people are supposed to let him know, but dude, so this guy, when he's lying in bed at home, can bet on baseball. But if he's lying in bed at a hotel, he cannot. It's like crazy, man. Thank God he's back. Thank God the rules have changed, but crazy. Just make it so these guys can't bet or they can bet. Obviously, you can't bet on football. Like, of course you can't bet on football, but I mean, he can't bet on the Reds. Come on now. David Montgomery. And for the running backs, it's been talked to death. So we don't got to talk about here because this is a Thursday game. There you go, dude, right? 53 of 28 snaps for David Montgomery. Hard to start. You still got to start Gibbs, be where you drafted him and where you got him because of the pass catching upside, the explosive upside. Then, yeah, there you go. And Nick saying, if I read the handbook, I probably wouldn't be listening to you. Yeah, I'm sure in the handbook somewhere it says you shouldn't be listening to dudes talk about the usage for fantasy football purposes from this weekend. So, yeah. Smokey the Cat, you can potentially drop Freiermuth, but my policy is never to drop players just to drop them. Don't spike drop players ever. Only drop players with a purpose. If you want to add somebody and Pat Freiermuth is the worst player on your team, then you got to do that. But don't just drop him and say, oh, I'll just figure it out later. You should just still do yin and yang tight end. That's the move if you want to go that way. So Green Bay Packers, 57 snaps. Christian Watson was eased back in. Don't love that. Kind of just wanted to see him play every single snap. But hey, what are you going to do? Right? The guy's coming off an injury. They want to make sure that he's good. So he was eased in. He only played 26 of 57 snaps. But as we predicted, those snaps came at the expense of Dontavian Wicks. Dontavian Wicks was a placeholder for Christian Watson. At the end of the day, what it's going to be is Christian Watson and Romeo Doubs on the outside, Jaden Reed in the slot. That's what the setup is going to be. And we'll have to see where the targets go. Right now, Romeo Doubs still has his full-time role on the outside. Jaden Reed was already a partial part-time guy out of the slot. He was like the Tyler Boyd role where when they go too wide down in the red area, he comes out. So that hurts him touchdown-wise, hurts him target-wise. Doubs and Watson are the guys you want. And Reed, I mean, he's a fun player, but if he's not going to play a full snap share, it's tough to trust him. And that's what we talk about on this show. We talk about trust. Luke Musgrave is still a guy we're stashing. He left the game with a concussion, though. So he's in the protocol now, and it's up to the doctors to clear him. So hopefully he gets cleared and he's good to go. But you got to monitor that. I just wish they would let us, if a guy goes into concussion protocol, I wish Yahoo would immediately make it so we can put him on IR, right? Like if he's in the protocol, he's not at practice, he is out, right? So come on, Yahoo, come on, Sleeper, FFPC, get that together. I mean, FFPC doesn't really have IR anyway. It's tight end premium, but still, get that together. FFPC, one of my favorite places to play. Speaking of FFPC, let's take a little quick look. Well, before we get to that, Aaron Jones came back. He's working his way back. They went easy with Romeo Doubs and with Christian Watson and Aaron Jones. They will get up to full snap shares. A.J. Dillon was hard to trust already with Aaron Jones out. He's going to be impossible to trust with Aaron Jones back. What up, Trey Rezak? I'm trading away Tony Pollard and Chris Godwin for A.J. Brown and James Cook. I have really good RBs, and I'm looking for a good wide receiver. Yeah, I do that, man. I mean, you're getting Tony Pollard is awesome, and he gets the full snap share. And there is a little concern for James Cook, but you're getting an upgrade on the wide receiver front. So yeah, it's kind of tough to trade away Tony Pollard though. But James Cook, we talked about him earlier on the show, and we're gonna have timestamps in here on YouTube when this is done, so you can go back and check out what was said about James Cook. But he got the goal line carry and he scored, and that's all we want in this world. But he did lose some pass snaps, so I think it's a fair trade. It's a fair trade, but who's your other running backs? Whereas James Cook, it'd be nice if you were loaded at running back, right? So I guess that trade's fair enough. So FFPC this week, again, it's becoming my favorite place to play weekly because it doesn't have the convoluted stuff that you have with some of the other weekly DFS setups. There's no draft. There's no salaries. There's no crazy rules. It's the same format as their playoff challenge, which is so much fun. I can't wait to play that again this year because the way it works is you draft your team, you pick your guys, and you can pick anybody you want. The only rule is you can't pick two guys from the same team. So in the playoffs, it's so much fun because it's like you got to think like, okay, I think the Chiefs are going to go deep, so I want to take Patrick Mahomes, and then I think this team's going to be eliminated in the first round, so maybe I pick my kicker from that one. So cool, the strategy on that front. But the weekly one is just as cool because it's like you can kind of take whoever you want, and you don't get smoked by stacks, right? So like if someone starts Tyreek Hill and Tua in other DFS platforms, you get crushed. If you didn't have them and they go crazy, like you just automatically lose. In this, you can't start Tyreek Hill and Tua. So it's really cool. If you go to myffpc.com and use promo code Coop right now, they'll give you $25 when you deposit 35 or more. I would suggest depositing 45. That'll give you 70 because the weekly contest, it's $35 or $20 buy-ins. There's 10 teams, 30 teams, or 100 team contests. Every Friday, what I do is I have a guest on and we put together a lineup, and it's a lot of fun because it's like, superstar teams. So I had Sam Wagman on and we put together this team, which was flat out terrible. Let's take a quick look at that. Yeah. So crazy. You can start anyone you want. So we started Anthony Richardson. He was in on the narratives from Madison and James Cook. James Cook did all right. Madison, 95 rush yards, but the score is everything. You need those touchdowns. You need the receptions. Only one reception. So got kind of crushed there. Cortland Sutton, they only played 48 snaps. So he was going against the Bears with no Jalen Johnson, no Eddie Jackson. It was kind of a perfect storm, and then did nothing. Devontae Adams, we talked about maybe switching him out with the backup quarterback. Probably should have done that, but in the end, we decided to leave him in because we figured, hey, he's the best player. He'll get peppered. He did get peppered with 8 receptions, but didn't get much done. George Kittle, we talked about how he had the best possible setup. I mean, that's how hard this is. You go through them. We're literally starting the best players at, like Tyreek Hill, Jamar Chase, Travis Kelce, like just Chris Olave. I mean, just stars. And look at we're actually in 30th place out of 30 because teams like this guy over here +6, Josh Allen crushed, Christian McCaffrey 48 points, Puka 31, like AJ Brown 38, Justin Jefferson 26. Even Keenan Allen didn't do much, but it didn't matter, right? Like look at the lineup this guy put together, star. You know what I mean? Like that's usually when our lineups look like. Sam wanted to get a little cute with it, which sometimes you got to get cute and have fun, but got rough there. This guy still has his kicker left, and this guy's gonna win. There's no question. I mean, he's got more points than everybody else and he's got a player remaining. Like Psychedelics' player that he has left would have to outscore his player by 21. It's not gonna happen. So pretty good. Good job, +6. This week we're gonna get you though. And if you want to get in there and take your shot at it, myffpc.com. Use promo code COOP, COOP, and they'll give you $25 when you deposit 35 or more. That's for new users. Your first entry. So pretty awesome stuff. They have two formats, classic and slim. The only difference is one has a kicker and defense, one doesn't. I like doing the one with kicker and defense, just a little more fun, a little more excitement. So yeah, go check that out. Let's get back to the snaps, the usage. Houston Texans, 71 snaps. Nico Collins, Robert Woods, and Tank Dell are the wide receivers every down. John Mechie, just not playing enough. He's not playing enough. So you can drop John Mechie if you haven't already. Nico Collins looking awesome, man. And he's the perfect example. Why we go out, we trade for Drake London, Kyle Pitts right now, because when the quarterback changes, things are going to get good. And what's happening? And yes, this week did stink. It kind of sucked. Let's get this FFP thing off the screen. It did kind of stink. So what are you going to do? It's still football, and it's still football. The worst week of football is better than the best week of not football, right? Just remember that, 6 months from now, we're going to be watching pitchers and catchers report to, training camp and, random NASCAR races. Like football is everything, baby. We've been watching golf. We're watching golf. Fantasy playoff baseball started, and then it's like, who cares? You know what I mean? It's football season. It's football season, right? So enjoy it. Even the bad weeks are awesome. So that's what's up. Texans, Dameon Pierce, not quite getting as much work as we want. He's still giving up the pass down work to Devin Singletary, Mike Boone. Devin Singletary taking the pass work very seriously, throwing a touchdown pass. But yeah, it's like Dameon Pierce in good game scripts, he's going to be good. And you know what? CJ Stroud is awesome. So this team's going to have more good game scripts than we thought they would. Like CJ Stroud has been awesome. And that could happen for Kyle Pitts and Drake London. If the Falcons can find a way to get a Drake May or Caleb Williams, then it could turn around next year. This year, I don't know what could possibly happen. People are talking about Matt Ryan playing for the Jets. Why wouldn't Matt Ryan play for the Falcons, right? Like, just give him his old locker or let Taylor Heineke play. But, yeah, you can see how it's going to work here. So, Nico Collins is the full-time split end. Robert Woods plays flanker. Tank Dell plays slot. That's the setup. They all played between 50 and 54 snaps, ran a bunch of routes. Like, the one problem is the fullback, Andrew Beck, plays 34 out of 71 snaps. When you get that fullback in there, a wide receiver gets hurt. That's why there were 70 total snaps and no wide receiver played more than 54. There are going to be tough times for some of these wide receivers if it's not a good game script. So just keep that in mind. Tank Dell, as you saw this week, not as trustworthy as we thought. So it's going to be really matchup dependent. Keep an eye on Nico Collins when he's going up against a top corner like a Marshawn Lattimore or a Jair Alexander. Those are probably the Tank Dell weeks. If they go up against weak secondaries, Nico Collins is going to eat like he did this week. So that's how that's going to roll. Dalton Schultz, him and Hayden Hurst, they're just not playing enough. He only ran 13 of 33 routes. I'm not sure if Schultz got hurt or something. If he did get hurt, let me know in the chat. But Dalton Schultz and Hayden Hurst, I'm moving them down. You can't really hold on to those guys because you can't trust them. We need the usage at the very least. At least early on in the year, he was playing every snap, running around like crazy. Now he's not. So let me know if he got hurt. If he got hurt, maybe we hang on to him. But if he didn't get hurt and that was his usage, then we have to drop him. Colts played 64 snaps. Anthony Richardson, awesome. Michael Pittman played every single snap, as he always does. Right? We played 61 to 64. That's as good as it gets, right? Alec Pierce was out there in 2 wide receiver sets still. So Josh Downs, we're waiting on the day where they say, okay, enough of this Alec Pierce business. Let's get Josh Downs out there every snap and use him like Keenan Allen or Cooper Kupp, where he plays slot and 3 wide and moves to flanker for 2 wide. It hasn't happened yet. I'll let you know when it happens. I'll be ringing the bell. I'll be, shouting it from the rooftops. But as of right now, tough to start him, man. Tough to start him. And Alec Pierce is just all exercise team out there. When we get in 2 targets on 58 snaps, just enough with the Alec Pierce. Enough. Okay. Josh Downs, let's let him loose. Zach Moss, once again, the feature back. This is probably the last week of that. If Jonathan Taylor comes back, if Jonathan Taylor gets traded or he's not healthy and doesn't play, then we just keep starting Zach Moss because he's played in 53 snaps of 64 as a running back. I mean, no one's doing that. Kyron Williams, I guess, is doing it. That's it. So you got to use him where you have him. And now you just sit there with your fingers crossed and hope that Jonathan Taylor never plays for the Colts again. Simple as that. I mean, if you can get him for cheap in a trade, it could be worth the dice roll. Jacksonville Jaguars, no Zay Jones, consolidates everything. We like that. Kirk and Ridley, those are the boys. Tim Jones played, but did he? 1 target, right? Kind of rough. Maybe a DFS dart throw if you're feeling weird. But besides that, Tim Jones ain't Zay Jones. They just think they can just throw another Jones in there and we won't notice. Nice try, right? Give us Zay back. Evan Ingram, rock solid. Start him every week. My favorite player. Just awesome. Super cool guy. Travis Etienne, 56 snaps. Tank Bigsby, only 8. There you go, Nick. Tim Jones got hurt. But Tim Jones still played 38 snaps, and he got 1 target. So he got hurt, but he didn't really do anything either. So I guess next up would be who? Parker Washington? Jacob Harris, he's still there. Maybe that's the next guy. There's no next guy. Don't worry about anybody except for Ridley, Kirk, and Zay Jones. It's easier that way. Tank Bigsby only played 8 snaps. So this whole idea that Tank Bigsby was going to take away work from Travis Etienne or he was going to be the goal line back or whatever he's going to be, no, don't worry about that. Travis Etienne, 56 snaps. Wheels up for Travis Etienne. He's got to be rest of season when you're talking about running backs. He's got to be back-end RB1, high-end RB2, at the very least, wherever you rank him, because nobody plays that many snaps. So you have to rank it that way. Kansas City Chiefs, 67 snaps. Massive rotation at wide receiver, nightmare situation. Nobody ran much more than 60% of the routes. So we're talking Justin Watson ran 22 of 36. That's 61%. And he led the team. Him and Marquez Valdez-Scantling each ran 22. Sky Moore ran 18. Rashee Rice ran 17. So just a mess, man. We're rooting for Rashee Rice. He's the one guy I'm rostering. Sky Moore, if you want to roster him, then great. Justin Watson is out there for his blocking ability, and Marquez Valdez-Scantling is a field-stretching flanker, which is just too boom bust for me. So it's Rice and Sky Moore that you can roster. Darius Toney ran 12 routes, which is the same number of routes that Noah Gray ran, and Noah Gray had a better fantasy day. So that's all you need to know about Kadarius Toney. Just not playing enough, man. Not playing enough. Justin Ross only played 4 snaps. So it's really Travis Kelce is the man, and Isaiah Pacheco is the other man, and Jerick McKinnon doesn't play enough, and none of the wide receivers are trustworthy. So what are you going to do? I want it to be Rashee Rice, but it's like fantasy wishing doesn't get us anywhere. I'll let you know if anything changes. Las Vegas Raiders, 73 snaps this week. Jacoby Myers played like the whole game, 70 snaps. Devontae Adams would have as well, but he got hurt. Left for a little bit, came back. Devontae Adams obviously is the man. Jacoby Myers is Jacoby Myers. When we get Jimmy G back, you can start both those players. Hunter Renfrow, you cannot start because they use Jakob Johnson, the fullback, and 2 tight ends so much that there's no third wide receiver, no Trey Tucker, none of those guys. Austin Hooper and Michael Mayer split the snaps down the middle, 37 apiece. Hooper ran 26 routes, though, only 15 for Mayer. So Austin Hooper is the better option, but he only ran 26 of 46 total routes, so he's actually pretty useless as well. And Josh Jacobs, 10 targets this week. Excellent. So Jacobs, you just keep rolling them out there. Los Angeles Chargers, 65 snaps. Josh Palmer was the dude. So we didn't know who was going to be the dude opposite Keenan Allen with Mike Williams out. The answer is Josh Palmer. He played 56 snaps. Quentin Johnson played 33. He's just not there yet. Maybe over, long term in Dynasty, you're going to remember in Dynasty, you draft these guys for the long term. So we don't know what it's going to look like over the long term. But right now, it's Josh Palmer and Keenan Allen. So for redraft, Josh Palmer is definitively ranked ahead of Quentin Johnson for me moving forward. He got 8 targets, but more importantly, he ran 30 routes. Keenan Allen ran 30 routes, and Quentin Johnson only ran 22. Done. So if that ever flips, this is the show where we'll tell you, because we go through and we look at everything. And we tell you, we set the basis for our entire week. And then we do the dirty work today so that we can have fun for the next couple of days. I mean, this to me is fun. I could do this for 7 straight hours. But tomorrow when we get Howard Bender on with the Fantasy Alarm Show, I know that's what you guys like better. So we'll do all that tomorrow. It's going to be a lot of fun. Get your waiver questions in then. Waiver questions Tuesday, trade questions Wednesday, lineup questions Thursday. We build the lineup with our guest on Friday. Just good times across the board. Gerald Everett, played 45 of 65 snaps, ran 18 routes. Donald Parham got hurt. And from I looked around, the guy I like for injury news is Edwin Porras, and he said that it looked like his quote was classic mechanism for a wrist fracture. Came down right on the wrist. I shattered my arm to pick up sticks doing the same exact thing. Right, got a little metal plate there as a souvenir. But yeah. So with Donald Parham out, Gerald Everett might be interesting, but this guy, even last year, you have to remember, only in 2 games did he play more than 70% of the snaps. And Keenan Allen and Mike Williams, they only played 2 full games together. Keenan was hurt the whole start of the year. Mike Williams banged up for the end. And in one of those 2 games, Gerald Everett had 0 receptions. So this guy, he's not a full-time player. I don't know what it is, conditioning or whatever. He just doesn't play full-time. Gerald Everett doesn't. So he's just still impossible to trust. If every single player on the team gets hurt, then maybe we could start trusting him. But it's probably going to be Keenan Allen and Austin Eckler as the target leaders, and Gerald Everett will be next, right? But our guy Stone Smart played 26 of 65 snaps. He's the deepest tight end that I'm rostering in a very deep league. I have him on a practice squad because he's a quarterback that was converted to a wide receiver that was converted to a tight end. Both his parents are All-American college basketball stars, and his name is Stone Cold Smart. So he's got all the memes that we like, and heck, who knows? He has a 24-yard catch earlier this year. Who knows what happens? If Donald Parham has a broken wrist, now he's one Gerald Everett injury away from being the guy for Justin Herbert. Something to think about. Los Angeles Rams, 82. Joshua Kelly, we're so done with Joshua Kelly. I mean, I just can't believe they didn't go out this offseason. They lost to the Jaguars in the playoffs because they didn't have a guy that could get a first down whenever everyone knew they needed to run. And then this offseason, they didn't go out and get somebody. Zeke was sitting there. Leonard Fournette is still sitting there. They're rolling out Joshua Kelly with Leonard Fournette at home watching the games on TV. What in tarnation? If Austin Eckler is out again this week, it's Leonard Fournette time. It should have been Leonard Fournette time a while ago. I'm just done with Joshua Kelly. I'm not starting him. Never again. Never. I never was, but never again. So yeah, Los Angeles Rams, 82 snaps. It's like every week they do this where they're consistently above average in snaps. It won't always be like that, but I mean, it's great for Puka, right? Puka played 78 of 82 snaps. So wild, right? Puka played 78 snaps. The Broncos as a team had 48 this week. So of course, there's going to be room for him to have a bunch of targets. And Puka's awesome. Obviously, the question is what happens when Cooper Kupp comes back, but I think he's still got to find a way to use this guy because he's getting open. I mean, it's not like you can have 2 good players, right? It's okay. So Van Jefferson played 71 snaps. Tutu Atwell played 64. Tutu could maintain his role. He's on the outside. I just think that when Cooper Kupp comes back, it's as simple as everyone's going to have fewer targets because you got to throw the ball to Cooper Kupp. So there you go. But who knows if and when he comes back. Tyler Higbee played 77 snaps, ran 39 routes, 9 targets. Again, this guy disappears at times, but in this environment, I'd much rather have Tyler Higbee than Hayden Hurst playing half the game or, some of these other guys playing half the game. So Tyler Higbee he's going to move up on the yin side of our yin and yang rankings simply because so many guys are just useless and we're just getting rid of them. So Tyler Higbee, he's fine. He's exactly fine. And the Miami Dolphins, they played 65 snaps this week. Durham Smythe is another guy that I would describe as exactly fine, right? Like he plays the whole game. He's in the George Kittle role, even though he's not George Kittle. They have 2 wide receivers that deserve more targets than him and Jalen Waddle and Tyreek Hill. So he's at best the 3rd target on his team, which crushes his upside, but at least he plays the whole game. So Durham Smythe and Tyler Higbee, 2 sides of the same boring coin. But if you're just completely struggling at tight end, that's what we do. You start a boring guy in your lineup and you put the most exciting possible guy on your bench. That's the whole yin and yang philosophy. Those rankings will be out tomorrow. So way it is. And everyone wants to talk about Devon Achane. Achane, that's the guy right now. I mean, he played more snaps than Raheem Mostert. It was a blowout, but still, he looked good. He had 100 yards. Awesome. So got to get him going. This team will never have a 3rd wide receiver unless someone gets hurt because Alec Ingold plays like half the game. That's the whole off. That's where the offense is set up. We love that for fantasy. If you could just have 2 guys catching all the passes like Tyreek Hill and Waddle, that's the best. Let's keep that going. We like that. Jack sends in expectations for Waller based on the game script tonight. Waller's wheels up, man. They've been utilizing him at high level. He's getting better from the hamstring every single week, and this is a good matchup for him. So yeah, If I'm doing a showdown slate, which I honestly am going to, Waller's going to be in there. I don't know if I'm going to make him the captain, but maybe I will make a lineup where Waller's captain. This is a guy that he can put the team on his back. He's done in the past. I've seen this guy on multiple occasions have 17, 18, 19 targets. Like he's better. He's the best pass catcher on the team. None of those other guys are at his level. He's bigger, he's stronger, he's faster. And besides Saquon Barkley, he's probably the best player on the offense. So get him in those lineups. Minnesota Vikings, only 48 snaps. Again, crazy low. Narrative. It's just brutal narrative street for some of these teams. So it's like you still start Justin Jefferson every single week. You start TJ Hawkinson every single week. I know he only had 3 targets, but they only threw 22 times, right? They only had 22 dropbacks, and Hawk ran, 17 routes. I mean, it's exactly what you expect. Josh Oliver continues to be a gigantic waste of money. Alexander Mattison, 33 snaps, Akers, 14. So on one hand, Madison is still a thing, but on the other hand, Akers, the fact he got 5 carries, he played 9 pass plays. Alexander Mattison played 11 pass plays. That you want that split to be a lot more drastic in favor of Madison. So Akers is not quite a thing you can use for fantasy, but he's out there. And he will be out there taking some snaps away. Addison is still the third fiddle in terms of snaps. KJ Osborne played 40 out of 48. Justin Jefferson played 47 of 48 because he's Justin Jefferson. And Jordan Addison played 28 of 48. So he still is the odd man out. That means that there's more upside there to be had if things change, but for the time being, they have not. This is the show where we'll tell you if things change. There will be a big celebration the day that happens. New England Patriots, my favorite team, terrible. That's why I'm wearing Celtics jersey tonight. It's the Celtics. We traded for Drew Holiday. That's what we're going to talk about during the Patriots segment here. We're going to talk about the Celtics and the Bruins. Now we got to talk about the Patriots. Mac Jones got benched, and Bailey Zappi came in. There you go, Zappi fans out there. I don't think the franchise quarterback for this team is on the team right now. And the problem is Bill Belichick is good enough to beat bad teams. He's good enough to beat – his last 3 wins have come against Teddy Bridgewater and Skylar Thompson and Zach Wilson and Colt McCoy. Like, he can beat backup quarterbacks and bad quarterbacks, which is just enough for this team not to get a good pick in the draft. So, honestly, as crazy as it sounds, they might need to get Belichick out of there because Belichick is never going to tank. It's not in his DNA. He cares about his winning percentage as a coach. Like, sometimes you just got to make a move that's best long-term for the organization, and maybe losing a bunch of games is good for this team, and Bill Belichick is not the coach that's going to lose a bunch of games. So tough situation. It's not good, not a decision I have to make, so I'm glad for that. Devontae Parker led in snaps, 45 of 55. No one played 30 besides him. So, he got 4 targets. Juju got 5. Henry got 5. Juju Smith-Schuster's usage on this team is baffling. He comes out for pass plays and plays on run plays. So even though he played, 26 snaps, he only ran 13 routes. Demario Douglas only played 18 snaps. He ran 14 routes. So it's very strange. He's like a split guard out there. So can't trust Juju. Can't trust Kendrick Bourne. Devontae Parker, Devontae Parker is going to get crushed by good corners, but at least he's playing, right? So there you go. Hunter Henry, 44 snaps of 55, 5 targets. Hunter Henry is exactly Hunter Henry. He will continue to be. And he's a guy that, he's safe but boring. What are you going to do? Gesicki played 33 snaps. He plays wide receiver, but he's a part-time wide receiver, so can't really trust him either. It's kind of rough. And so much for Zeke Elliott getting starter reps. He only got 6 carries. Ramondre got 14. Ramondre plays more in every phase of the game, so that's just the way it is there. Question in the chat from Santos. What's up, Twitch gang? What do you think about Mostert and Nico Collins for Olave and Jonathan Taylor? I do it, dude. Just do it. Do it right now. Because Mostert, he's at least splitting. They're not going to put him back. You're not going to put Devon Achane back in the bottle. And Nico Collins is going to be good in these game scripts, but he's still Nico Collins, and the scripts aren't always going to be that good. Olave is Olave, and JT could be JT. I mean, you might be getting upgrades at both positions. Those are the high-risk moves I like to do. Trade Jahmyr Gibbs to get Olave, Smokey the Cat? Yeah, do that immediately. Gibbs is a backup running back. Sorry, everybody. The backup running back that you drafted is a backup running back. We did this before with A.J. Dillon. We did it before with Tony Pollard. So you can't. It's like the meme where the guy takes the stick and puts it in the wheels of his own bike, right? It's like you can't draft a backup running back and then be upset when he's a backup running back, right? Like people are like, oh, they can't waste the draft capital of a first round pick. Oh, what? So they can waste the $30 million that they gave David Montgomery? It's okay to just waste a ton of money. The money's way more important. So anybody that didn't see this coming, guess what? That's how it works. Jahmyr Gibbs is still going to be fine, but yes, go out and get Chris Olave if you can. I don't think they're not going to accept that trade. New Orleans Saints, 65 snaps. It's Olave and Michael Thomas, the full guys. Rashid Shaheed comes in and plays a partial snap share, as always, right? He's the field stretcher. He's the kick returner, punt returner. He's the third guy in, but the first guy out for 2 wide receiver sets. Michael Thomas continues to get targets, so you continue to start him. Chris Olave, you're always going to start him because he's good and he's going to be better. Jameis Winston came in to throw 1 pass and was an interception, which was insane. Derek Carr is obviously not healthy, but he will continue to get healthy. Juwan Johnson also got hurt. Jimmy Graham played 42 snaps. Taysom Hill played 33, and Taysom Hill stinks. And I don't ever want to hear another Taysom Hill question again. Alvin Kamara got the full job back, and in the most Kamara game ever, he had 14 targets, 13 receptions for only 33 yards, shattered the record for inefficiency. Somebody tweeted, I wish I could give him credit, but I forgot who sent the tweet, but they basically tweeted that he looked up all the 13 target games, and 33 yards is the record by far. The previous record was 75 yards. So way to go, Kamara. But hey, that's good for PPR and half PPR. And honestly, it's good for every format because targets are more valuable than carries in every single format. That was proven by Scott Barrett mathematically years ago. So there you go. Targets are king. Alvin Kamara is going to be my lineup everywhere I have him forever. New York Giants play tonight, so no numbers on them. The New York Jets with Zach Wilson actually look pretty good. 59 snaps. And hey, Zach Wilson's always been capable of putting zip on the ball. His problem is more related to the mental issues, running around like crazy when he doesn't need to, sacking himself when he doesn't need to. It's his work in the pocket that's the problem. Arm strength has never been the problem. And, if he were just a little better with the pocket awareness, you might have a guy. So I don't know. It's something that could be learned. It's harder to teach a guy to run fast and jump high and throw far than it is to teach him how to play football better, right? Like you can't just you're not going to just take me and make me an offensive tackle. Like it's not physically possible. So it's like you can't just make people better at throwing, but you can correct their footwork and their pocket presence. So hopefully he gets better with that. And Garrett Wilson, you got to start him where you got him. Alan Lazard, I just have to say that if you're only good when you play with a 4-time MVP, then maybe you are not good. And I'm a little worried that Alan Lazard is not good. So Tyler Conklin only played 20. He only ran 23 routes out of 42. So I don't care. They got 6 targets. The Jets are one of the teams that don't have a tight end for fantasy football. Sorry. Breece Hall led the backs and carries, but it's still a split. So last week he got more snaps. This week he did again. 26. Michael Carter got 18. Dalvin Cook got 15. So it's still a split, but at least it's in his favor. Dalvin Cook you can probably drop. Eagles, 71 snaps. It's Devonta Smith. It's A.J. Brown. Those are the dogs. Quez Watkins, while he's hurt, Alameda Zacchaeus is going to be running around, but those guys are sharing the all-exercise team job of playing, 61 snaps and getting 2 targets. Way to go, Alameda. He's just kind of hanging out. They might as well just use 2 tight end sets, honestly, if they're just going to have a wide receiver out there doing nothing. DeAndre Swift played 45 snaps. Kenneth Gainwell played 27. And here's the breakdown, right? If you were to take the running back job and split it into 2 roles, the pass downs and the run downs, the way they have it set up is that DeAndre Swift gets basically all the rundown role, and then you take the pass down role and you split that right in half, and he gets half that, and Kenneth Gainwell got half that. So it's like you have 20 routes for Swift, 19 for Gainwell. So Swift basically is getting 3/4 of the job, and Gainwell has 1/4. He has half of the job. DeAndre Swift is the guy right now. Gainwell, we'll have to see. Maybe he's still working his way back from injury, and his role could grow, but we can only go off what we're seeing. And right now, Swift has 75% of the gig, which is what most of the good running backs do. I mean, some of them have the whole job, Christian McCaffrey, but he at least has, a big enough hold on it that's not split 3 ways like it is with the Jets, or it's not split down the middle like it is with it's been with the Broncos, right? At least he's getting favored. So we're feeling good about that. Steelers, 59 snaps. Pickens, A-Rob, Calvin Austin, those are the guys. When Deontay Johnson comes back, he just replaces Calvin Austin. So Calvin Austin, if you can sell him in Dynasty, I would do it. He's a day 3 wide receiver. Anytime they flash, sell them. I don't care. Even if it's Puka Nacua. Sorry. If I can trade Puka Nacua for a first-round pick, I'm actually going to do it. And I'm okay being wrong because think of all the times that you could have done that and you didn't do it. If you traded every single one of these guys when they flashed, Keelan Cole, Robert Foster, like Isaiah Hodgins, Travis Fulgham, Preston Williams. Like if you traded all those guys when they were actually people were saying giving you a second or even a first round pick, if you did that every single time, then you would get so many better players back that it would make up for the one every once in a while there's an Amon-Ra St. Brown or whatever. Like you would have so many players that it wouldn't matter that you missed on Amon-Ra St. Brown because you get all these first and second round picks and you have multiple awesome players. You replace them with like Chris Godwins and all these guys, So that's always going to be my stance on that because the hit rate is so crazy low on day 3 wide receivers. And when you look at the guys that are quote unquote hits, half of them only had one good season. And that's why they make it on the list. Like Brian Hartline is a hit for a day 3 guy. He's a great coach over at Ohio State, but he had one top 24 season. So he's a hit. Yeah, good. Then, and you got the other guys that are hits are like Julian Edelman was a quarterback in college. Antonio Brown was certifiably crazy. Pierre Garçon is a hit as a day 3 pick. He was a Division 3 player that went to Mount Union. When you really take all the red flag hits out of there, it's like 1%. And I get you, Nick. Puka is here to stay for redraft, and I think he is a good player, but is he always going to be a guy that gets 10, 15 targets, or is Cooper Kupp going to come back? So, hold on to Puka. Do whatever you want. But I tend to trade those guys because with all these first and second round picks, it does better. And Lufa, my dog, also clearly approves in the background. So Pickens, A-Rob, Austin. When Deontay's back, Austin's out. Pat Freiermuth got hurt. He left the game. He's getting an MRI in his hamstring today. He's getting a scan. That's not good news. Maybe we will get good news from it, but the fact that they're going to scan it, usually bad. So I'm not picking up Darnell Washington or Connor Hayward or any. Don't worry about it. It's Pat Freiermuth or it's nothing, and it was barely Pat Freiermuth already. So Najee Harris and Jalen Warren split the snaps down the middle, 29 apiece. But, Jalen Warren got a little more pass work, and Najee got a little more run work. But Najee's still getting enough of the job that he's preferred over Jalen Warren. I know all of metrics and Twitter are fantasy wishing for Jalen Warren to be the guy, and it's kind of like Tony Pollard all over again. And the reality is that Najee Harris is still on the team for next year too, and they could pick up his 5th-year option. So Najee Harris might not go anywhere, and Jalen Warren is the same age as Najee Harris. So you could spend a lot of time waiting for Jalen Warren to be the next Tony Pollard when, I don't know, they kind of need to trade Najee for that to happen. So keep that in mind. Jalen Warren, you need an injury to one of those players for the other one to be a high-end asset if the team is not going to be good. San Francisco 49ers, 55 snaps. This was the Christian McCaffrey show. He just single-handedly beat the Cardinals, which, everybody else just kind of hung out and watched. Deebo Samuel, complete decoy game, 48 of 55 snaps, no targets. Got 3 carries, but he's clearly not healthy right now. Brandon Ayuk, they didn't have to do anything. They didn't have to throw much, so Ayuk and Kittle just kind of hung out. There you go. They'll never have a third wide receiver over there unless someone gets hurt because Kyle Juszczyk plays 36 of 55 snaps. So Ray McLeod, Ronnie Bell, Willie Snead, whatever else, there's just not enough snaps for those guys. So it's McCaffrey, Kittle, Deebo, Ayuk. That's it. Good, fun. Seattle will play tonight, so we'll keep an eye on that. Buccaneers, 71 snaps. Mike Evans left with a hamstring injury. Got to monitor that. If Mike Evans is going to be banged up, Cade Otton is on the menu. Now, the one thing for Cade Otton that stinks is they ask him to block on a lot of pass plays, but maybe they won't do that as much with Mike Evans out. So Trey Palmer is the next guy that stepped up. He's the next man up. Devin Tompkins is the third guy. So if Mike Evans comes out, then Chris Godwin's obviously locked in. But the guys we're looking at are Trey Palmer and Cade Otton. Those are your next best options. I'm not really interested in Devin Tompkins or Raheem Garrett. No. Baker Mayfield, pretty decent. He's been pretty decent, man. I mean, it's hard to start him in a single QB league because he doesn't really have crazy upside or offer rushing upside, but 2 QB leagues, you got to be happy where you have Baker Mayfield. And Rachaad White, I mean, his role will make him an RB2. brute force RB2 just because of how much the percentage of the snaps he gets. 50 to 71 is huge, but he's just like not that good. And they lost. I mean, maybe he is good. He's pretty good at catching passes, but they lost their center, Ryan Jensen, potentially career ending, and that line stinks. So is what it is. Tennessee Titans, 66 snaps. Derrick Henry is still the king of carries, even if Tajay Spears is the prince of pass downs. Like Henry, when the game script is good, will be good. And Tajay Spears, he's going to be a guy that they used to have a guy named Tajay Sharp. Tajay Spears will be a guy that plays if they're playing way from behind and he gets a bunch of pass work. And that's about it, dude. I know Rushman, the injuries never stop, dude. They never stop. The hamstrings, the everything, dude. It's never going to stop. And that's why we got to keep track of this usage, because not only, this is important, not only for the guys now, but knowing who the next man up is, because that's how you get ahead of the wire. That's how you get Josh Palmer instead of Quentin Johnston, because Josh Palmer has played over Quentin Johnston every single week. So no one should be shocked this week that Josh Palmer played more than Quentin Johnston. You can be mad because you fantasy wish Quentin Johnston was better, but you cannot be upset because that's how it's always been. DeAndre Hopkins, clearly not healthy. I mean, he's not healthy. I'm watching these games. His ankle's bothering him. He's coming out of the game. Every time he catches the ball, he gets up and says, I'm jumping out, right? And he only played 35 of 66 snaps. Nick Westbrook-Akine played 57. Treylon Burks is out, so Chris Moore played 52, but those guys are just DFS dart throws at best. Chigakonkwo ran 24 routes, which tied Chris Moore, but it was more than DeAndre Hopkins. But, he's just not really a focal point. Even with Treylon, you can't trust him. If he's not going to do anything with Treylon Burks out, then you can't trust him. And we bet the over 30.5 yards was the line. We bet the over, and he had 29 yards. Thank you, Chig. You couldn't get 2 more yards for us. Like if you're gonna have a bad game, at least get those 2 more yards. And Brian Tannehill is going to set the record this year for overthrowing wide open players on flea flickers. What did he have, like 3 already? Just crazy to me. Washington Commanders, last team here, then we'll get you guys out of here. McLaurin, Dotson, Samuel. Those are the guys. Samuel's the guy that comes out for 2 wide receiver sets, but games like this where they're going to play, 78 snaps, well above average, you're going to get a lot of targets, but that's not going to be the case every week. So it's still McLaurin where you got him, Dotson if you have to, and Curtis Samuel, he's a DFS best ball player because he gets carries every once in a while. And this week you saw it with the rushing touchdown, but you never know where and when it's going to happen. That's why Debo I like much better in best ball, because there's no analysis that can tell us, right? Like with tight ends, you got a team that has a safety like Justin Simmons or Eddie Jackson and they're injured. We can look at it and say, hey, you know what? The guy that covers tight ends is out. This is a good week for this player. There's no analysis that tells us, hey, this would be a good time for Curtis Samuel to get a carry, right? The Chiefs defense does this. So Debo Samuel is going to have 4 carries. Like it's just, there's no rhyme or reason besides the offensive coordinator gets a little bit froggy every once in a while and calls the play. So what are you going to do? Logan Thomas played 62 of 78 snaps, 62 snaps, more than Jahan Dotson, more than Curtis Samuel, only 1 less than Terry McLaurin. Logan Thomas is moving up on the yin and yang rankings on the yin side, even though he only got 3 targets, first game back off injury. Logan Thomas is a guy that at least he's going to play a ton, and that Eric Bieniemy has the tight end tricks in the bag. So got to go there with him. And then you got Brian Robinson and Antonio Gibson. It's the same setup as we talked about it earlier with, with the, splitting it into 2 roles. Brian Robinson gets most of the run work, and he gets at least half the pass work. So Antonio Gibson is getting just the 1/4 of the work there. Can't trust him. Brian Robinson is the dude. This was a terrible matchup for Brian Robinson, and he did okay. I know he got it down to the 1-yard line for Curtis Samuel to score, which hurts, but there you go. So everybody, that's the setup. So today you have all the stats, right? You have all the snaps. I'm going to do my snap count article on Wednesday, so you can have it all in writing if you want to go back and read any. I'm going to put it all together for you guys. Tomorrow we're going to do waiver questions on Alarm Fantasy Football with me and Howard Bender. Wednesday we're going to do your trade questions. Thursday we're going to do the lineups, and on Friday I'm going to have a guest on, and we're going to set up and FFPC lineup. So if you want to play with us, go to myffpc.com, use promo code COOP, COOP, deposit $35 or more for your first time. They'll give you $25. So get set up for that. And at the very least, you got to get your account set up for playoffs because that's the fun game. That's the best one that they have there. The weekly one is awesome too. I like it better than the other DFS, to be honest. It's just more fun making these crazy lineups and see what happens. So thank you guys for tuning in. We'll catch you guys tomorrow and enjoy Monday Night Football tonight. For me, the props that I like, the one I really have fun with, man, the one I really have fun with is the betting on the tackles. Betting, it's crazy because I'm a fantasy football analysis, I care most about that. But picking linebackers like Bobby Okereke on the Thursday night game a couple weeks ago, we bet on him to have more than 8.5 tackles, and just watching this guy, number 58, run around ripping heads off and getting all these tackles. This past Thursday we did with Quay Walker, he had 19 tackles. So we hit that bet early, but it's just so much fun out there being like, oh, there's my guy, let's go. Like, my wife is like, what is it? You see like a boring 1 yard play, and I'm like, yes. And she's like, what the hell? And I'm like, dude, my guy, he got him, the animal. So that's the one I like tonight. Bobby Okereke over eight tackles, wherever you can find it. I know it's on, like Underdog, and you might be able to find it on DraftKings. So that's what I like for tonight. That's what I'm enjoying. And I'm just going to enjoy the game. So thank you guys. Thank you, Earn Dog Behind the Glass. And I will catch you guys tomorrow.